And still a lot of questions about when or if New York City public schools will return to class, right? There's also been a whole lot of talks about summer school.
The school year as we know it is so different now because everything's virtual. So that also means we don't have to see the same boundaries we often did in the past. We're going to help students all the way through the spring, through the summer if they need it, into the fall.
Okay, so New York City Schools Chancellor Richard Carranza joining me live this morning with his insight on what the rest of the academic year actually looks like. So good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us once again here on the PIX11 Morning News. First and foremost, the mayor has said schools are closed till the end of the year, right? In fact, the buildings are closed. The governor says the announcement is actually coming. Can you speak to this and help clarify for the parents at home who are saying, are my kids going physically back to a building or not?
Thank you and good morning, Dan. What I would say is I follow the advice of medical experts, as does the mayor and as the governor. And thus far, there's not one medical expert that has said it's okay to start congregating again in large quantities. We know schools are places where large numbers of people congregate. So my message to parents is schools will not be in session face-to-face for the remainder of this school year. And depending on what the medical advice is for the summer, we're going to continue to follow medical advice. So plan on finishing this school year in remote learning.
Understood. Okay, so let's move on to that remote learning, right? It's been underway for about 7 weeks now, an impressive feat here to get all 1.1 million students and teachers everything they need to last through the remainder of this school year. So I want to talk about the iPads, right? The kind of technology that makes this all possible. How are you doing on getting every single student who needs those iPads? It was quite the obstacle for you. How are you doing right now with that?
Well, I want to give tremendous credit to not only our teachers, who are part of the heroes in this whole saga, and our principals, but our families and our students. And, you know, I stay in contact with my colleagues that are large system leaders from across the country. And believe it or not, there are some school systems that just yesterday, Monday, started their virtual distance learning. We transitioned in a matter of 72 hours. So we should be very proud of it. But we said from the beginning, flexibility and patience, because we were building the plane as we were flying it. To that point, we immediately were able to get 175,000 devices out. And these are devices that were in schools already and were assigned to students during this remote learning period. Since then, we also had a survey. We asked students and families to identify if they needed a device. And we made the commitment that anybody that told us they needed a device would get one by the end of April. That was about 250,000 individuals that said they needed a device. As of yesterday, we have shipped 247,000 devices. These are iPads that are Wi-Fi equipped. They have a case. Now, what's important to know is that those 247,000 devices that we've shipped already, those are the equivalent of taking the entire school system of Atlanta, Seattle, Detroit, and San Francisco, putting them all together and giving everybody an iPad.
Right.
So
no, I know it's a big lift. So that leaves about a couple thousand, right, that still don't have them. Are you worried that those students who didn't have them or are still waiting for them, that they're going to fall behind because they've gone weeks now without the technology that the rest of their classmates have had?
Well, they've also had paper and pencil packets that obviously are not the same as the connected interactive lessons and ability for teachers to stay connected video-wise. But they have had academic work that they've been doing. And obviously, we're very concerned when students don't have the resources they need to be active participants. But those students that still don't have them, that have identified themselves, again, we'll have them by this week.
Okay, good.
And then we're going to continue to have our website open so that any student that needs one can continue to request one.
So yesterday there was a big press conference with the mayor. You were there as well, talking about the new grading system, right? And I want to throw the information up on the screen right now for all those who may have missed it right now, this new grading system starting in kindergarten all the way through high school. There it is. I don't want you to lay out each individual thing because that'll take too much time. We have it all laid out on our website. But for this grading system, how does it ensure that students will actually not fall behind? Do you think changing the way that you graded them allows them to move forward, or are you worried now that it might prevent some students from getting the actual GPA that they need to move forward?
Well, no, absolutely not. We took a lot of public comment. We engaged with a lot of different points of view, and the continuum on this issue are very extreme.
Yeah.
Some folks that said leave it exactly as it was before we went into remote learning, don't change a thing. Others say everybody passes, everybody gets an A, everybody moves forward. I think what we've tried to do is strike a balance that makes sense, but doesn't put students inadvertently in a situation where it could have negative consequences for them. So, for example, at the high school level, students are still continuing to engage, but a student that does not demonstrate the sufficient progress or mastery of the course, they'll get a course in progress classification instead of a failure. That gives them more time to complete, recognizing that some students may not have had devices, recognizing that it's been a traumatic event for everybody in the city of New York, and it gives them more time. And the goal has always been for students to be able to master standards. But that also allows students to continue moving forward. And at the end of the semester, a student that gets a letter grade has the option of saying, well, I don't want that letter grade on my GPA. I'd rather have just a pass,
Right.
which gives them credit for the course, but doesn't negatively impact their GPA.
So when you say a course in progress, right, that kind of alludes to the fact that there will be some summer school going on. What does summer school look like for the teachers and for the students right now? And is there any word on starting the school year in September a little earlier to get students back physically in a building?
Well, I wish I could give you a definitive answer. It all depends on what the medical experts are telling us and what the spread of the virus continues to be, or what the lack of spread of the virus continues to be. It's literally day by day, hour by hour sometimes. We're planning for all eventualities. We're planning for in-person classroom environments, but we're also planning for remote learning. And we won't know until we have more information about what this virus is doing. So I can't tell you definitively what it's going to look like. I can tell you we're modeling many different scenarios to what that might look like.
So summer school will still remain as remote learning. And I want to talk about the challenge for parents right now. I'm hearing from a lot of parents who are saying, okay, this is the reality we're in, but this is driving me absolutely crazy. I'm struggling to help my kiddos with this. So is there resources available for parents out there who are struggling to help their kids right now?
There are. So parents can log on to our website, www.schools.nyc.gov. There's a link there on the homepage that will take learning from home. And there's a lot of resources there for parents, a lot of guides for parents, a lot of hot links to other information as well.
I can't let you go without talking about the Department of Education losing dozens of employees to the coronavirus. Our thoughts are with your department and with those families. But the question is, do you feel that schools should have been closed sooner to maybe prevent some of these deaths from happening?
Every step of the way, we followed the advice of our medical professionals. And, this is a virus that not many people knew anything about. In fact, no one knew anything about it. So we closed on the advice of our medical professionals. And we are just sorry for the loss of anyone in the city of New York, especially for our colleagues in the Department of Education.